think the Ku Klux Klan names sound like they're playing Dungeons and Dragons? So you basically just think they're a big bunch of nerds.
Worse. I know, they're not wrong being a nerd. As in, like, it's more kind of like incel comes across as.
What made you look up the Ku Klux Klan there?
Because it was mentioned, they were on about it in what were we watching?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, where the fuck does the name come from? It's a very odd name, but it literally means it's from the Greek.
News radio, and the guy had to do the eulogy, and everyone was telling him the guy was an asshole.
Yeah.
And then he didn't believe him when he got there. It was a funeral full of Ku Klux Klan members.
Yeah.
And then you looked up Ku Klux Klan, and that means what?
It's from the Greek word kuklos, which means circle.
And you said that the rednecks think it means what?
White racial brotherhood.
Good translation.
Dead on. The fuck.
Well, these are the same fellas who can't differentiate between their wives and their sisters, so I mean...
Tennessee.
Oh, is that where it started? Tennessee?
1865, yeah, it's all up here. I never looked into the history of it or anything like that. It's just not something that obviously that particularly...
You know, we were high on their list as well of people living
Irish
that, like,
Catholics. Yeah.
And you had to be like white Protestant to be Ku Klux Klan as far as I know.
Never knew that.
We would have been on level pegging with the all Africans in their eyes and the Jewish people.
That's mad.
No, to be fair, they didn't pick on us half as much as they did the black people.
Well,
and Jewish
obviously,
people. We were kind of able to blend in a little bit.
We could change our nationality convincingly.
Saying that, if you went up to an Irishman in America and asked him if he was Catholic or Protestant, chances are they are so Irish that they would refuse to admit to being the other one if they were one. Like, a Catholic isn't going to turn around and tell a Ku Klux Klan member, oh, no, I'm a Protestant, to save their skin, and be like, fuck you Protestant, I'm a Catholic. We know that because it's caused multiple killings and bombings in our country for long periods of time.
Yep.
Well, forget the Ku Klux Klan. They're monsters. We will definitely cover them on Real Monsters at some stage.
Actually,
Yeah, are they worth it?
Are they worth covered? Do I want to talk about them?
I like the Black Klansman story. That's a true story.
Is it?
The one with Adam Driver and Denzel Washington's kid.
I'd watch that again.
Yeah, that's a true. And Topher Grace. He's the
Oh,
bad guy, isn't it? The main fucking... The main dragon. What do they call himself? Head dragon? Give us the names before we start cracking on our mini monster stories. Give us the...
what would you call the titles?
Titles, yeah. I know they have a Grand Dragon, don't they?
I think so. Titles, yeah, Grand Dragon. They have a Grand fucking Dragon. They have a Supreme Grand Wizard. Fuck. They have Nighthawks. The treasurer is called a Clabby.
Oh.
The rest of them are ridiculous. The secretary is a Clig Rap.
So the rest of them are probably something along the lines of like Ku Klux Klan, a Greek word. But sorry, go back. Go way. The Grand Wizard.
The president is the Supreme Grand Wizard. The officers at each level above the local clan unit were designated by a unique prefix: Imperial at the Empire level, Grand at the Realm level, and Great at the Province level. It sounds...
The Realm level, it does. It sounds like a bunch of people fucking larking.
LARPing.
Whatever. Larping. Whatever.
It does.
Sounds like a bunch of nerds. Not that there's anything against LARPing. I think it looks fun.
I would LARP. Are you serious? I would love to go LARPing. Be in my element.
I just, anytime I think of the KKK, to be honest, I just think of South Park. When they did they had the KKK and they were having their proper meeting. But then after the meeting, they had a game of who had the silliest thing on under their robes.
Oh,
so they were all going to like gather around and they'd come running down the little laneway between everybody wearing their robes and like lift their robes to show what they're wearing. And everybody got a good kick out of the one wearing women's underwear, which is crazy considering the KKK would lose their mind. What one was it that Chris Jericho was the KKK leader? Remember, they were all really, really stupid. And there was something about fucking their robes getting messed up in the wash and they were giving out to the guy who was in charge of the laundry that week. You know, Jericho. Jericho.
He's a grand wizard in it's Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh, Clan Leader.
Reboot.
Jay and Silent Bob reboot. That's what it was.
He's a grand wizard.
It just says Clan Leader here, but obviously we know better now. He was a grand wizard.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you looking? I'm looking at IMDb.
I'm looking at it on Loudwire.
Oh, right. IMDb just hasn't done as Clan Leader.
Loudwire kind of go into it.
But I do remember the scene. I could never remember what fucking movie it was. I was like, is it Django Unchained? It seems too ridiculous.
Silent Bob reboot. No, he wouldn't be.
I couldn't figure it out. But yeah.
What year was Django set?
What year was it set? Oh, I haven't a notion. Early 1900s?
No.
Late 1800s?
It doesn't fit in for 1900s. Here it was.
It looks pretty Red Dead Redemption-y, whenever that time was.
1858, so I don't think there would have been a KKK yet. I think it's 1865 is KKK.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. 2 secs.
I suppose what the fuck did they need them for when they were all slaves?
It was kind of more of a Confederate. There was the partition, so it was December 24th, 1865 in Pulaski.
You don't really need a KKK if
Yeah.
You wouldn't need a hate group against somebody that's under your complete control all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Welcome to Real Monsters, our Patreon exclusive Mini Monsters companion show. And this week we are going to be covering the Pendle Witches. I keep going to call them the Pendleton Witches. I don't know why. The Pendle Witches, Larry and Danny Rains, the Lindworm, and the Yeti.
Yay.
So what do you want? We kick off with going order. I suppose you can kick off with the
Pendle Witches.
I will be honest with you. Not that I have anything against witches or anything like that. Witch story. I like it. I mean, I like the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I liked Sabrina when I was a kid. I like Harry Potter. I used to read it when I was a kid, and I liked the movies and all that. But real witch stories don't interest me, but don't grab me as quick as other paranormal and stuff. I suppose it's because the whole thing seems so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I like them, I think, for the kind of, I don't know, maybe you might have a different, but I feel that they can be quite like feminist at times, as in like, do you know, like... Oh,
yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I do like them for that.
But really isn't the whole witch movement, especially the one... the big one, fuck Salem. Would that not be a big
where they're all getting burned and stuff like that? Yeah, but Sabrina, I did find, she's a powerful. Things modern portrayals. They're very
back then. Calling witch was to stop them.
Yeah, exactly. But now, if we're talking about movies and stuff like that,
getting a bit too uppity.
Historically,
witch.
Historically, yeah.
So I wouldn't. Well, but I mean, in media, definitely the witches are always the powerful kind of strong.
Exactly.
In charge woman.
I've always liked witch movies. Even the one with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. It's a pure girly witch one now, but Aidan Quinn is in it as well. He kind of comes back to life, but it's very good.
Who's Aidan Quinn?
The guy with the blue eyes. Oh, he was in. Do you know the one that you laughed at me that we watched, Haunted, with the haunting?
The blue eyes.
Yeah, that's blue eyes. Do you know him? He was Harry Cosgrave in Michael Collins. He was in The Haunting, the one with Kate Beckinsale that you laughed at me for, and you were like, oh, I know the twist, like 10 minutes into it.
I didn't laugh at you. You were just like really bad. I felt bad. If anything, I actually felt really bad for you because I hate when that happens. You were like buzzing to show me this movie, telling me there was this awesome twist in it, which was probably a mistake to start with because the best twist movies are the ones where you don't know.
I am sorry I told you that Saltburn was twisty as well.
So you're sitting there kind of waiting for the twist, and I clicked within the first meeting of everybody. When they meet the ghosts for the first time and they think they're people, I literally turned around to you and I was like, they're all ghosts. I was like, no, they're not. Yeah, they fucking are.
Like, I'm going to bed. It's a good movie though. I love the movie. You see, I was quite young watching it with my mom, and I was just kind of like, when you're young and you're impressed, that kind of mind is like, holy
and then when you're older
shit.
You show it to somebody else,
yeah.
It's like, whoops.
That's why when I watched The Sixth Sense for the first time, I clicked with The Sixth Sense and I put it down to watching that movie.
I couldn't click The Sixth Sense. I didn't get it until the end.
No.
But that was like the first twisty movie I'd ever seen.
No, yeah, for
first,
major.
mind blower.
It would be for a lot
Secret
of
Window,
people.
I enjoyed. A lot of people shit in that movie.
I didn't
but,
understand people shit. I went to see it in the cinema and I just came out.
I had it on DVD and I burnt that DVD out for ages. I loved watching it. But I was a big Johnny Depp fan back then.
Oh, that was my first time really getting into Johnny Depp.
That was one of my favourite Johnny Depp movies at the time. But I think he was kind of famous for Pirates of the Caribbean and around the same time, wasn't he?
Maybe.
Obviously, he'd been famous since the fucking 80s. I mean, it's Johnny Depp. Like, but I mean, I think...
Using Gilbert's screen.
She's laughing because my brother was over here trying to tell us all about this great movie that we need. If we wanted to see Leonardo DiCaprio's great acting skills, we needed to watch. What's it say again?
What's eating Gilbert's grapes?
The same man who has brought us Games of Thrones
and The Mandatorian.
Sorry, Dave. Anyway, do you want to tell us about the Pendle Witches?
Yeah, so the trials of the Pendle Witches in 1612, they're the most famous witch trials in English history and some of the best recorded of the 17th century. There were 12 accused living in the area surrounding Pendle Hill in Lancashire, and they were charged with the murders of 10 people by the use of witchcraft. All but 2 of them were tried at the Lancaster Assizes in August 1612, along with the Samesbury Witches and a few others. We covered the Samesbury Witches. So the official publication of the proceedings to the clerk to the court, Thomas Potts, in his The Wonderful Discovery of Witches in the County of Lancaster. The title of that makes me want to read it. Yeah. And the number of witches hang together. There was 9 at Lancaster and 1 at York, and this was very unusual in trials for England at the time. So it was estimated that all English witch trials between the early 15th and the early 18th centuries resulted in fewer than 500 executions. But these trials accounted for more than 2% of that total.
Why?
So there was...
I would have thought it would be instant death. But I say that, like, I mean...
How do you mean?
People forget as well that up until Christianity, witchcraft was just paganism as well.
It was healing. It wasn't just bad. It was healing. It was shamanism. It was good shit.
Lots of cultures.
Yeah.
But again, in paganism, it would have just been the healer.
Yeah. You're village wise person. Yeah. I'm not licking any hands though. Every time. Yeah. So there is, just kind of put it into perspective, like what you were saying about the Protestants and the Catholics there at the start of the episode. During this time, there was a lot of upheaval. Like what 1 minute, like with every monarch in England at the time, you were changing. When one died, you were changing back to being Protestant. The other died, you were going back to being Catholic. Or else
it's all coming from the same family line, aren't they? Or is this still at the time where they're kind of fighting back and forth and taking...
No. You've Henry VIII, and obviously he was famous for the Reformation, going to Protestantism. And then after that, he was succeeded by his son, who stayed with Protestantism as well. Then after that, you were changing to Catholicism, and then after that, you're changing back to Protestantism.
Political thing, like? More than a faith thing, then? Or was it just that this one queen decided she was going to be Catholic because she actually had that faith?
Oh, well, yeah, and Bloody Mary was particularly devout Catholic, like, so as in if you were Protestant, you were getting burned. Shit. Yeah, well, her mother...
Do you know what used to confuse me as a child, right? Because when it was kind of explained to me, no, it's my own fault. I could have just paid it. If I had paid attention in class, I would have understood. But I didn't understand that Lutheranism, yes? Lutheranism. Is there an N in there somewhere?
Lutheranism.
Yeah, anyway, I didn't realise that was basically Protestant.
Yeah,
Protestants.
Yeah. But he would have started the first kind of schism.
And yeah, I didn't realise that. So when Protestants were explained to me, and I remember I'm an Irish Catholic boy, and it's being explained to me by Irish Catholic men who despise the fucking British Protestants. So when it was explained to me, it was basically a religion that was created because this guy was sick of his wives. That the whole religion was based on...
Well, the Church of England is.
Yeah. The whole religion of Protestants are based on the fact that the king wanted to get divorced and Catholics didn't allow divorce.
Well, around the same time that Henry VIII wanted to get rid of his wives, this was starting to kick off by Martin Luther, like, and he would have been fed these ideas by Anne Boleyn, and he was kind of like getting the ideas from her.
Luther's idea of it was more along the lines of stripping back the glitz and glamour of fucking Christianity and taking away all the fucking riches that the Catholics had.
Which Henry VIII played off of then to get divorced.
Yeah, okay, yeah. See, but yeah, as I said, as a Catholic fucking Irish child, you are kind of explained it. But really, the basis
there's many types of kind of, but like as you said, as an Irish Catholic child, you were taught there's Catholicism and Protestantism.
The Americans claim to be Protestants as well, and they got all different denominations of Protestants over there, and their types of Protestants are nothing like the British Protestants that we see. Nothing like the British Protestants. I've never once seen the British Protestants seem more like. So, do you know what the British Protestants are really like? Are like Reverend Lovejoy in The Simpsons. That would be your kind of that would be Protestant.
Like an Emmerdale. Yeah.
That's what a Protestant is. Not this fucking Baptist bullshit where they're singing and fucking got all the lights and the fireworks and the righteous gemstone shit.
Oh my god, yeah. No, I couldn't. I'd like to go to one just to see. I'd like to see the group.
As a show, yeah.
But like,
sitting in the back fucking hall.
I go for the entertainment value.
Encore! Hey!
Yeah. So, anyway, after the last kind of change of religion, that was when Queen Elizabeth died in 1603, and she was a Protestant. She was succeeded by James I, and he was very interested in Protestant theology surrounding witchcraft. So there was a lot of witch trials going on in Scotland and in England.
So the Protestants were major against the witches.
Yeah, exactly.
Burn the witches.
So, with the trials, one of the accused, Demdike was her name, as she had been regarded in the area as a witch for about 50 years. And some of the deaths the witches were accused of had happened many years before Roger Nowell, he was kind of like a prosecutor, had started to take interest in 1612. The event that seems to have triggered Nowell's investigation, culminating in the Pendle Witch trials, occurred on the 21st of March 1612. So on her way to Trawden Forest, Demdike's granddaughter, Alison Device, encountered a man called John Law, who was a peddler from Halifax, and she asked him for some pins. And 17th century metal pins were handmade, and they were pretty expensive, but they were frequently needed for magical purposes, such as in healing, particularly for treating warts, divination, and for love magic, which may have been why Alison was so keen to get hold of them and why Law was so reluctant to sell them to her.
So, do you know how people back then, their second names were usually something to do with their job?
Demdike.
You know, no, that's just that. Yeah. And love magic and all that. Do you think Alice Nutter specialised in love magic?
Nutter. Maybe.
You got her yet, but I saw her name. And
you see, you think not. I thought that she was just a crazy lady.
Oh, there's that too.
So whether Alison Device meant to buy them, as she claimed, and Law refused to undo his pact for such it was a very small transaction, or whether she had no money and was begging for them, as Law's son Abraham claimed, is unclear. According to the 1613 tract Potts' Discovery of Witches, the devil appeared in the likeness of a black or brown dog with fiery eyes, which Janet Device, the daughter, later claimed was a spirit familiar of her grandmother named Ball, which spoke twice in English, offering to lame John Law.
If you want to know more about familiars, go back last week where we covered them in many months.
Yes, exactly. I think we actually touched on Ball a tiny bit. So a few minutes after the encounter with Alison Device, she said, this is Janet, she said that she saw Law stumble and fall, apparently lame, perhaps because he suffered a stroke. He managed to regain his feet and he reached a nearby inn. And initially he made no accusations against Alison, but she appears to have been convinced of her own powers. And when Abraham Law took her to visit her father a few days after the incident, she reportedly confessed and asked for his forgiveness.
So hold on. This fella had a stroke in front of her and she thought she did it.
Well, like, imagine, like, out of... It'd be such a coincidence that would have...
Like she was like, oh, I'm going to kill you.
But that's it. Like, you know, if you're cursing somebody under your breath, like, and next thing they fall to the ground, you would think for a minute, like, and it would be such a coincidence. But in the history of coincidences, this is a coincidence that has to have happened at some stage in history. And it just, you know...
You'd know it had happened to me because I'd be standing there with my arms out going, the power! Yes, finally I have the power!
Yeah, I'd be shocked. I'd be looking at my hands. I'd be trying to turn things blue.
I did that!
What else can I do? Try to fly. Alison Device, her mother Elizabeth, and her brother James were summoned to appear before Nowell on the 30th of March 1612. Alison confessed that she had sold her soul to the devil, and that she had told him, maybe it wasn't such a coincidence though, and that she had told him to lame John Law after he'd called her a thief. Her brother James stated that his sister also confessed to bewitching a local child. I'm just going to stop there and say the timeline here is crazy. So, like, he said no to her. I'm not selling you anything. She cursed him.
She cursed the devil?
No, she cursed John Law, right? And he fell to the ground. But if what she's saying in her confession is to line up with what Janet said, she would have had to literally sell her soul to the devil in those 2 seconds that John Law was like, no.
How do you, maybe the devil slowed down time, maybe the devil stopped time. I would assume.
Oh, yeah.
If they have the power to...
They did that in Sabrina, didn't they? That's true. Yeah.
I mean, for stretching things this far, we can go a little further.
That's true. Right. Alison's...
Is it true... Excuse me. Is it true if you beat him in a fiddle contest, you get to keep your soul?
I would assume so. Everybody seems to stick by it, don't they? We need to learn. Although... Jack Black did it with a guitar. Didn't he?
What would happen if you got there with your violin and it turned out that the type of fiddling he meant, since he is the devil,
who fiddles better?
Type of fiddling kind of contest.
How do you win that? As in quicker?
I don't know, but
louder?
The devil, you can't quite well. If you're to believe the Christians, the great deceiver. Do not accept the fiddling contest with the devil.
There was an English witch that said that she had, like copulated with the devil, and she stuffed rabbits up there.
You talked about that before.
Yeah, I need to find her. I definitely have a book about her at home, but at home, like. But
she pulled them out to kind of try and trick people, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a new trick. Usually it's out of a hat. That's fair.
I was about to say usually it's a ping pong ball. But anyway, Elizabeth, Alison's mother, was more reticent, admitting that only her mother Demdike had a mark on her body, something that many, including Nowell, would have regarded as having been left by the devil after he'd sucked her blood. And when questioned about Anne Whipple, or Chattox as she was known, the matriarch of the other family reputedly involved in witchcraft in and around Pendle, Alison perhaps saw an opportunity for revenge. There may have been bad blood between the two families, possibly dating from 1601, when a member of Chattox's family broke into Malkin Tower, the home of the Devices, and stole goods worth £1, equivalent to only about £215 as of 2023.
And why were they called the Devices? The device, like, what could your job be that you be the device, especially with that era? I mean, see, now you know what it was like for teachers trying to teach me how stuff in school. I mean, you're trying to teach me about this child, and I'm just looking at their surnames going, how the fuck do you get a name like that back then? Device?
Device, the word device comes from the old French word, devis, meaning division, separation, wish, or desire. So it could be something along. It doesn't have to reflect your occupation. Like you had like a lot of names, especially when surnames first started to originate in England, that it would be like, say you would have been Josh Trelly.
Well, just where you're from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Alison accused Chattox of murdering 4 men by witchcraft and of killing her father, John Device, who had died in 1601. She claimed that her father had been so frightened of old Chattox that he agreed to give her 8 pounds of oatmeal each year in return for her promise not to hurt his family. So the meal was handed over annually until the year before John's death. And on his deathbed, John claimed that his sickness had been caused by Chattox because they had not paid for protection. It doesn't have to be magic, though. You kind of like poison him.
Pay for protection. Break your fucking legs if I don't get my oatmeal.
On the 2nd of April 1612, Demdike, Chattox, and Chattox's daughter Anne Redfern were summoned to appear before Nowell. Both Demdike and Chattox were by then blind and in their 80s, and both provided Nowell with damaging confessions. Demdike claimed that she had given her soul to the devil 20 years previously, and Chattox that she had given her soul to a thing like a Christian man, is an actual quote from her, on his promise that she would not lack anything and would get any revenge she desired.
To be fair, if two, you got to think at this time, two blind 90-year-old ladies come into the fucking court.
I'm ready to go.
You're going to believe them. That's going to be some scary shit. Like,
yeah,
you know, they're just looking off into space, or else they have that like white dead-eye fucking thing going on, and they're like, I sold my soul to the devil. And at that stage, I would assume being in your 90s was probably a pretty impressive fucking feat to begin with.
Yeah, and two in their 80s. Yeah.
Exactly. Or 80s, sorry.
Well, well into their 80s. So they probably would have been
closer.
Like, yeah. So although another woman, Anne Redfern, made no confession, Demdike said that she had seen her making clay figures. Margaret Crook, another witness seen by now that day, claimed that her brother had fallen sick and died after having a disagreement with Redfern, and that she had frequently blamed her for his illness. Based on the evidence and confessions he had obtained, now committed Demdike, Chattox, Anne Redfern and Alison Device to Lancaster Jail to be tried for maleficium, which is causing harm by witchcraft, at the next assizes. Okay. The committal and subsequent trial of 4 women might have been the end of the matter had it not been for a meeting organised by Elizabeth Device at Malcolm Tower, which was the home of the Demdikes, and that was held on Good Friday, the 10th of April, 1612. To feed the party, James Device stole a neighbour's sheep. He sounds like a bit of a shit stir now. You think you just let whatever's going on, just leave it well enough alone. Friends and others sympathetic to the family attended, and when it reached, the word of it reached Roger, now he decided to investigate. I suppose it would have been seen like what you call them when the witches meet. Oh, there's 13 coven. No, not a coven. There's an actual name for the meeting.
Yeah, I know. I can't think of it for some reason.
Yeah. Is it a witches Sabbath? No, that's different.
Witches meeting.
Why won't this?
Witches Sabbath is what's coming up.
Yeah, Witches
Sabbath.
Sabbath.
A purported gathering of those believed to be practicing witchcraft or rituals.
So it probably caused all-out panic that they were holding a Witches Sabbath at the Demdike's place. But on the 27th of April 1612, an inquiry was held before now, and another magistrate called Nicholas Bannister to determine the purpose of the meeting at Malcolm Tower, who had attended and what had happened there. As a result of the inquiry, 8 more people were accused of witchcraft and committed for trial. That was Elizabeth Device, James Device, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, John Bulcock, Jane Bulcock, Alice Gray and Janet Preston. Preston lived across the border in Yorkshire, so she was sent for trial at the York Assizes, and then the others were sent to Lancaster Jail to join the 4 who were already there. So Janet's judges were Sir James Altham and Sir Edward Bromley, and she was accused of the murder by witchcraft of a local landowner, Thomas Lister of Westby Hall, to which she pleaded not guilty. She had already appeared before Bromley in 1611, accused of murdering a child by witchcraft, but had been found not guilty. The most damning evidence against her was that when she had been taken to see Lister's body, the corpse bled fresh blood presently, in the presence of all that were there present, after she touched it. And I know that's a lot of presently and presence, but that's an actual quote.
What does that mean?
So when she touched the body, it started bleeding again.
And then they decided she didn't kill. Sorry, maybe I missed something there. Maybe I blanked out.
Oh, sorry. So no,
like you said, she was accused of killing this person. Then they brought her to see the body.
No, it's the child. Like, the child that she was accused of murdering by witchcraft, she was found not guilty for that. Okay. But when she went to see Thomas's body, Thomas Lister's body, that she was accused, when she touched it, she started bleeding again, and everybody was like, well, obviously, that's the sign of a witch.
Okay.
According to a statement made to now by James Device on the 27th of April, Janet had attended Malcolm Tower's meeting to seek help with Lister's murder. She was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging, and her execution took place on the 29th of July in Knavesmire, and which is the present site of York Racecourse.
Do you know what women should have done?
Rose up.
No, just got together and started rumours of ghost witches, and that witches that are killed by methods of witch trials were always going to come back and haunt the villages and the areas. And if the women all sat over around screaming, pretending like they were being haunted by their old friends who had been fucking murdered by the townspeople, then they would have started this kind of thought process that, oh, you don't kill the witch, you imprison the witch, because that's the safest option.
I know that
I know
most of
imprisonment
these
in that time probably wouldn't have been much better for the fucking women.
No. Unless you're from a good family.
And I mean, obviously there's the problem that all the women who weren't being accused of witchcraft were happily taking part in the fucking, you know,
yeah,
the fucking the lynching of these women. So I mean,
the thing about it is, I know that a lot of I think all of these were hung, and I think that the majority of them in England were hung. But the thing with burning witches as well was to cleanse the soul. So I'd say that might have been seen as a way to knock that on the head.
Well, not if the women all just clung together and kept saying they were seeing them fucking burn. If they burned you, and then I kept walking around saying, Amy's fucking here, she's coming for us all. Eventually they're going to believe me. And they're going to be panicking about you, the ghost of you being around, and they'll be like, well, we can't kill any more witches.
That's true.
They're going to come back and kill us.
That's true. That's true.
And to be honest, if they did that, if they went after you and killed you for being a witch, I'd want revenge, so I'd probably kill a few of them and blame the ghost of Amy on it.
Oh, make me a fucking legend.
Yeah,
see,
right.
That's fucking empowering if that happened, which is not empowering, but then afterwards.
Couple of goals right here.
All the other witches, alleged witches, were living in Lancashire, so they were sent to the Lancaster Assizes for trial, where the judges were once again Altham and Bromley. The prosecutors were local magistrate Robert Nowell, who had been responsible for collecting the various statements and confessions from the accused. 9-year-old Janet Device was a key witness for the prosecution, something that would have not been permitted in any other 17th century criminal trial. However, King James, who I'd say that he was very interested in his witch theology, he made a case for suspending the normal rules of evidence for witch trials in his book Demonology. As well as identifying those who attended the Malkin Tower meeting, Janet also gave evidence against her mother, brother and sister. 9 of the accused, Alison Device, Elizabeth Device, James Device, Anne Whittle, Anne Redfern, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, John Bulcock and Jane Bulcock were found guilty during a 2-day trial and hanged at Gallows Hill in Lancaster on 20th August 1612.
All 9 of them.
All 9 of them. Elizabeth Southerns died while awaiting trial. Only one of the accused, Alice Gray, was found not guilty.
Kind of crazy, because the idea of the number 9 would hold a lot of significance in pagan rituals and stuff like that. And again, witchcraft does come from a lot of paganism. I mean, there's a lot of pagans that claim to be witches. There's a lot of witches that claim to be pagans. I'm not big into that side of that paganism, but you know, it just seems almost like a weird kind of omen of them. Do you think they'd fucking know about that themselves and think, well, maybe we shouldn't hang 9 of them at the same time?
That's true. Maybe they thought that the other one that they sent off to was it Lancashire or York? Sorry, maybe they're like,
weren't hung all 9 in the same place, like.
No, then those 9 were hung in that place, but the one that was sent to York was part of that group, but she just lived slightly over the border, so maybe they kind of looked at it technically. But I 100% understand what you. Yeah, the 9. Yeah, it is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So on the 18th of August, Anne Whittle was accused of murder of Robert Nutter. She pleaded not guilty, but the confession she'd made to Roger Nowell, likely under torture, was read out in court, and the evidence against her was presented by James Robinson, who had lived with the Chattocks family 20 years earlier. He claimed to remember that Nutter had accused Chattocks of turning his beer sour, and that she was commonly believed to be a witch. Chattocks broke down and admitted her guilt, calling on God for forgiveness and the judges to be merciful to her daughter, Anne Redfern. Elizabeth Device was charged with the murders of James Robinson, John Robinson, and together with Alice Nutter and Demdike, the murder of Henry Mitten. Elizabeth vehemently maintained, I hate that word, her innocence. Can you say that properly? Vehemently. I still can't say it. Potts recorded that this odious witch suffered from a facial deformity resulting in her left eye being set lower than her right. The main witness against Device was her daughter Janet, as we said, who was about 9 years old. And when Janet was brought into the courtroom and asked to stand up and give evidence against her mother, Elizabeth, confronted with her own child making accusations that would lead to her execution, began to curse and scream at her daughter, forcing the judges to have her removed from the courtroom before evidence could be heard. Janet was placed on a table and stated that she believed her father her mother, had been a witch for 3 or 4 years. She also said that her mother had a familiar called Ball, who appeared in the shape of a brown dog. Janet claimed to have witnessed several conversations between Ball and her mother in which Ball had been asked to help with various murders. James Device also gave evidence against his mother, saying that he had seen her making a clay figure of one of her victims, John Robinson. Elizabeth Device was found guilty.
I got a question. Kind of one last question to kind of run this, because obviously we know
they were all
they weren't witches.
No, yeah.
Who did kill all these people? Or is this a case of natural? They're not witches, but they're just serial killers who got branded as witches?
Well, the father that died for the protection, I'd
causes?
say he was just sick, to be honest. But he was like, oh, I've been cursed. You know, man flu. But the murders, I'm not too sure. I'm sure there might have been 1 or 2 murders there somewhere. I mean, they did it, but we're going to blame witchcraft. Okay. Yeah. James Device pleaded not guilty to the murders of witchcraft of Antonie and John Duckworth. However, he, like Chattox, had made an earlier confession to Snow, which was read out in court. That and the evidence presented against him by his sister Janet, who said that she had seen her brother asking a black dog he had conjured up to help kill Townley, was sufficient to persuade the jury to find him guilty.
And if you want to hear more about the black dog, go back to last week.
So many
monsters.
Same with the same Aylesbury witches. The trials of those 3 witches were heard before Anne Redfern's first appearance in court late in the afternoon, charged with the murder of Robert Nutter. The evidence against her was considered unsatisfactory and she was acquitted. And Redfern was not so fortunate the following day when she faced her second trial for the murder of Robert Nutter's father, Christopher, to which she pleaded not guilty. Demdike's statement now, which accused Anne of having made more clay figures of the Nutter family, was read out in court. Witnesses were called to testify that Anne was a witch more dangerous than her mother, but she refused to admit her guilt to the end and had given no evidence against any others of the accused. Anne Redfern was found guilty.
I thought the doll thing was only in voodoo. You see that in the latest season of Chucky as well. John Tiffany controlling the entire prison guard system by voodoo dolls.
Yeah.
And you see Chucky in the very first one killing his voodoo teacher with a voodoo doll.
That is true, yeah.
I just always thought, and anytime you hear of dolls in magic, it's usually voodoo. So I mean, it's my first time hearing of.
I might look into it. I don't know like where it originated with witchcraft or what, but it does feature in a lot of witchy. So Jane Bulcock, her and her son John Bulcock, they were both from Newchurch in Pendle. They were accused and found guilty of the murder by witchcraft of Janet Dean. Both denied that they attended the meeting in Malcolm Tower, but Janet Device identified Jane as having been one of those present and John as having turned the spit to roast the stolen sheep, the centrepiece of the Good Friday meeting at the Demdikes' home. It sounds like someone was just really butthurt over that sheep, to be honest. Alice Nutter was unusual among the accused in being comparatively wealthy, the widow of a tenant yeoman farmer. She made no statement either before or during her trial except to enter her plea of not guilty to the charge of murdering Henry Mitten by witchcraft. The prosecution alleged that she, together with Demdike and Elizabeth Device, had caused Mitten's death after he had refused to give Demdike a penny that she had begged from him. The only evidence against Alice seems to have been that James Device claimed Demdike had told him of the murder, and Janet Device in her statement said that Alice had been present at the Malcolm Tower meeting.
It was so easy to just frame people back then. When
you
don't like somebody and it's like, well, they told me they did it.
But clearly, all you have to do after the altercation is drop to the floor and like limp off, and it's like, oh, she cursed me, and now I can't walk properly. So burn. Yeah. Do you know? It seems to be very, and that's a 9-year-old fucking testifying. Like, do you know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So Alice may have called in the meeting at Malcolm Tower on her way to a secret and illegal Good Friday Catholic service and refused to speak for fear of incriminating her fellow Catholics. Many of the Nutter family were Catholics and 2 had been executed as Jesuit priests, John Nutter in 1584 and his brother Robert in 1600. Alice Nutter was found guilty.
Are you allowed to be a witch and a Catholic? I would have thought they would have been, after, especially if these women are claiming they sold their fucking souls to the devil and stuff. I would have thought witchcraft, especially that type of witchcraft they thought was being practiced at the time, would have been solely like the way nuns are brides of Christ, the witches are the brides of Satan, aren't they?
I would assume for you to believe it, for someone to believe it to that extent, and to confess that they had sold their soul to the devil, they at one stage in their life they would have had to be a devout, extreme Catholic, like to actually have that idea of I 100% sold my soul to the devil. And
I just picture fucking your pretty face going to hell.
I fucking love that.
Do you remember when it's the time for the witch orgy, and all the other employees can't understand why the devil doesn't want to go to this witch orgy, where he's going to be rolled by old witch, and you get there and it's just a bunch of old witches, and they have to pretend to be him. That's what I kind of picture when I picture witches as brides of Satan kind of thing. Like
brides of Satan, that like if they're luring you, they're like really, really, really like hot, like, and then you get there and they're all like haggard. Yeah.
Shining style.
Exactly,
The room. What was it again? I think I'll remember at this point. Fuck's sake.
Catherine Hewitt, aka Mold Heels, was charged and found guilty of the murder of Anne Foles. She was the wife of a clothier from Colne, I can't say that place name, and had attended the meeting at Malcolm Tower with Alice Gray.
Did you see her name was Mold Heels?
Yeah. That was her nickname. According to the evidence...
Wash your feet. Jesus Christ.
I'd love to know why she was called Mold Heels. Do you reckon she was like maybe like a shoemaker and she molded heels?
I would just picture mold growing.
That's what I'm thinking now. Like headache, fucking... According to the evidence given by James Device, both Hewitt and Gray told the others at a meeting that they had killed a child from Colne. I'm sure. Can you say that?
I don't even know.
It's the L and the N. Colne. I can't say an N after an L. And full. So Janet Device also picked Catherine out of a lineup and confirmed her attendance at the Malcolm Tower meeting. Alice Gray was accused, with Catherine Hewitt of the murder of Anne Foles. Potts does not provide an account of Alice Gray's trial, simply recording her as one of the Salisbury witches, which she was not, as she was one of those identified as having been at the Malcolm Tower meeting and naming her in the list of those found not guilty. Alison Device, then, whose encounter with John Law had triggered the events leading up to the trials, was charged with causing harm by witchcraft. Uniquely among the accused, Alison was confronted in court by her alleged victim, John Law.
And is this the John Law? Is this the one where the name Johnny Law came from?
How do you mean?
Well, you always hear the bad guys in TV shows. You gotta stay away from Johnny Law. Johnny Law's
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
You never heard Johnny Law as a nickname for the cops?
No.
Johnny Law. You're watching over Johnny Law. I wonder if this is the Johnny Law.
Maybe. Should look into it. So Alison, as I said, seems to be genuinely believed in her own guilt. And when Law was brought into court, Alison fell to her knees in tears and confessed. And she was also found guilty.
But you're not found guilty if you confess. You plead guilty and just accept the plea.
Did she plead not guilty? Did she plead not guilty until he came in and then she confessed? So was the plea already in, I wonder?
I suppose. I don't know how their officiating worked.
Yeah. So that was
fucking witch shit is just
crazy. I love reading like the ins and outs of it, and the fucking it's mind boggling. I mean, like a 9-year-old, the first smell of witches, or like it's like all fucking.
But it's just such an easy way to take someone. And I've said this, but it's still impossible to do this because I've said this as well before, that like there are certain things you can be accused of that you might be innocent of, but once that stink is on you, it's stuck to you. Mm-hmm. If you are accused of being a paedophile or a child molester or something, that's sticking to you. Rapists, sticking to you. Sexual assault, sticking to you. Beating women, sticking to you. So all these kind of things. If you're accused, even if you're innocent, they will stick to you. You know, and there's always going to be a percentage of people who believe that you are that person. Like, you know,
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You know? Even if you're found innocent, and I assume that's kind of what was the equivalent of back then, where you're called a witch, even if you manage to get off that charge, they're always looking at you as, oh no, she's the witch.
Well, I mean, like, we spoke about Mother Shipton lately, and her mother, she was a young, I think she was like 14, 15 having her, and she was, you know, seen as a witch. She wasn't accused, she wasn't brought to trial or anything like that, but like she was seen as being a witch, and like she was actually out. Mother Shipton was born in a cave, like, because, as you said, that clung to her mother. She was an outcast. And then, of course, by association, it clung to Mother Shipton. Like, so as you said, like, there's some things that just stick, and they can stick for generations.
And was there any such thing as white witches back in that time era? Or were they all seen as bad? It was just witchcraft, it was satanic, and that's it.
I am
Was
sure
there any
anybody that
version
was
of-
practicing at the time, like, do you know, like these women, because they were nearly present in every village, that they were actually what we'd see as white witches, but they were, to everybody else, black witches. Like,
The whites were white witch. The idea of a good witch didn't
exist. Yeah. As soon as you started, I don't know.
I think we need to move on. We'll be talking more about witches, so we won't worry about it. I am curious about these other two guys, though, Larry and Danny Rains. When you brought them to me, I had no idea who they were. And I just find it amazing that we got two serial killer brothers who committed their sprees completely separate from each other.
Completely independently. What actually stuck out here for me was that Larry Rains changed his name to Monk Steppenwolf. And when I saw that, I was like, I'm doing it. This is what we're covering.
The minute I heard you say that, I was like, well, he's definitely a racist. I don't know why, but they're just that.
Oh yeah,
instantly gave me racist vibes.
Most likely, but it made me think of what you call it?
Do you think they were competitive?
Oh yeah, they were competitive. So
because one has 1 to 5 victims, the other one has 4 victims.
Oh, I don't think they were competitive murder-wise. I think that they were kind of basically forced into being competitive with each other. Their father was a bit abusive, but like we'll go into it and we'll talk about it. So Larry Lee Rains and Danny Arthur Rains, they're American serial killer brothers who committed their crime sprees predominantly in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
That's another thing. When you say Kalamazoo, I was expecting somewhere in Africa. When you followed it up with Michigan, I was like, what?
I was expecting fucking somewhere in Dr. Seuss land, to be honest, because I never realised it was a real place until a few years ago, and because I only ever heard of it in like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, I was the same. I heard about what happened in Mulberry Street. And then next thing I'm listening to Sammy the Bull's podcast, and he's talking about John Gotti's nightclub was was on Mulberry Street. Yeah. That's what they were. I was like, hold up.
and the Muffin Man. What's the music?
So that kid saw a lot more coming home on the way from Mulberry Street that he kept his mouth shut about.
Yep. So Danny and Larry were born on October 20th, 1943 and March 22nd, 1945, respectively. They were influenced by their father's authoritarian parenting, and the two brothers constantly competed with one another, often fighting over a handful of cents, in addition to being persuaded to drink alcoholic beverages. In 1954, their father abandoned the family and moved to Florida, where he found a job as gas station attendant. In 1958, 13-year-old Larry met a 23-year-old neighbour named Sue, a mother with 3 children. Over the next few years, he began to spend much of his free time with her and took part in raising her children, eventually beginning an intimate relationship with her.
And he was 13.
Yeah. Now he might have been a bit earlier at the time they started.
Like, so he was raising her children at 13.
Yeah. Yep, great mother. In the early 1960s, both brothers began dating a girl named Kathy from their high school. The impact of dating 2 different women took a toll on Larry's academic performance, causing him to drop out during the 10th grade and turn toward a life of crime.
Well, pimping ain't fucking easy, man.
In 1962, Larry, together with a friend, stole a car, but both were quickly arrested. The district attorney's office offered to nullify Larry's sentence if he agreed to enlist in the United States Army, which he did.
Right, before we get into it, because again, people would have heard us, how many monsters go through their profiles already. And I couldn't help but wonder, because we're about to talk about it, their prison, or not their prison, this guy's military fucking career.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was a common trait to send these criminals into the military, right? But why did they think it was a good idea? It sounds like a soft way of getting out of a prison sentence. Because this guy goes to the military, drinks and acts the fool until they fucking kick him out of the military, and then is out in the streets. Whereas if he had said no to the military, he would have had to go to prison.
That's true.
And even at that time, all he would have really had to have done is not even act that much of a fool. He would have just have had to say, yes, I will go join the military. Went to the military, went into one of the shower rooms, looked at the guy next to him and said, "Hey, nice cock," and they would have booted him out of the military. And then he would have been free to do what he wanted. So, I mean, I can't. And when they were there, it doesn't sound like they were very
What
good
would you have done,
soldiers.
though, if your man turned around and was like, thanks. Backfired.
Come back later and try it with one of the other officers and hope But I mean, it doesn't sound like they're very good soldiers. It doesn't seem like it made it. I kind of always got the idea that it was a kind of a thing of if you didn't complete your time in the army successfully, that you'd be sent to prison instead. But it seems like that's not the case with this guy.
Oh, you just serve your time and then you go, and even if you should have had, like, say, like a 20-year prison sentence.
That's how it sounded like when you were describing it on the mini-sode. It sounds like he was told your options are you're going to prison or you're going to the army. He chose the army and then kept getting in trouble for drinking and misconduct. Yeah. And in the end, they just kicked him out of the fucking army.
He did, because he attacked a colleague while he was drunk, and that's what resulted in his dismissal.
But
no jail time.
He didn't get away without the jail time.
I know. Yeah.
No, I don't know how much jail time he really would have gotten for a stolen car at that time, so maybe he was in the army enough time. I don't know. But either way, it just doesn't seem like a very good... Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't seem like a good way of doing it. But at the same time, what was the survival rate at the time when you're sending people over?
Killers. What you want to be doing is getting guys like Ted Bundy and BTK and a few of those other guys and just putting them in the front line.
Yep, see, the thing with a lot of them is if you were going to do that, you'd have to be, there would have to be strict ground rules. I mean, like, some of the stuff that BTK did, you wouldn't get away with doing it on the front line, like.
Yeah, but he's...
Okay, would he still kill if that was, if he was,
He didn't actually see any action. I think he was in Vietnam. And he definitely was with hookers in Vietnam. There's no word that he killed anyone in Vietnam. Even though he might have done a bit of practicing there, but they don't know for sure. But he didn't see any action. A lot of these guys are in the army, but rarely see action. Mm-hmm. I think maybe Gary Ridgway might be one of the few. I might be wrong about that. I think he might have just fucking sat it out as well. Like they're there, but they're office jobs or fucking, they're not on the front line, you know.
Yeah.
But just let me have a quick look here. Early life, adult life. Graduate and was sent to Vietnam, where he served on board a supply ship and saw combat. So Ridgway did see a little bit of
the Green River. Yeah.
During this time in the military, Ridgway was had frequent sexual intercourse with sex workers and contracted the gonorrhea. This angered him. This is what they reckon this is one of the main reasons to set him off against hookers.
Because he
got an STD.
Silly and got an STD from
you got an STD from the woman that had sex with everybody.
Yeah.
Do you know?
So he should be really mad at himself.
Yeah. He should have wore a condom, you fool.
That's bad.
You know, at the very least.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. She's only trying to make a living, but I mean, just wear a condom.
Or go get some antibiotics. It's not the end of the world, like.
Yeah, well, I don't know what was gonorrhea is easy to fix back then.
The 80s, I'm not too sure. So anyway, Larry repeatedly begged Sue to marry. In the meantime, though, his brother Danny married Kathy and had 2 children. And then Larry repeatedly begged Sue to marry him, but he was refused each time. And devastated by her refusals, he attempted to take his own life on December 23rd, 1963, by trying to suffocate himself by inhaling exhaust fumes from his 1958 Plymouth Plaza.
So he was going out with Sue still.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't marry him.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he's sleeping with his brother's now wife, who they have been in a relationship also with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, on the May 30th, 1964, Larry, posing as a hitchhiker, was...
Amy, I gotta stop you.
What?
I had an idea.
Okay.
We make a soap opera about these 2 brothers. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you had stopped recording. I thought this was a genuine fucking idea, Josh. No idea how much this happens. I'm like, oh my God, tell me. I'm like, oh my God,
I have it, right? Because you have this love triangle with the ex-wife, and they're in and out of jail, and what we could call it, right? Right. You ready? When it rains, it pours.
Oh my God, it's so 90s. You'd have to make it. How do you make that a comedy?
It's a comedy. It's a soap opera. It's serious.
When it rains, it pours. It sounds like a comedy. Are you writing this down as a genuine idea?
It's not bad though. If more people knew who Larry and Danny Rains were, it would be funny. But the problem is I didn't know who the fuck they were, and I know a lot about serial killers. Oh God.
On May 30th, 1964, Larry, posing as a hitchhiker, was given a lift by 30-year-old.
I wouldn't mind, spoiler alert, as far as I know, she leaves one of them for the other one by the end of this.
I'm going to leave you in a minute. That's what's going to happen by the end of this. Was given a lift by 30-year-old Gary Albert Spock, a Plymouth school teacher passing through Kalamazoo. During the trip, Larry brandished a weapon and forced Spock to climb into his trunk, which he was subsequently locked in. While continuing the trip, Spock attempted to get out of the car, after which Larry stopped the car, tied him up, and then shot him twice in the back of the head. Larry then stole $3 and other items of material value before leaving the car on the side of the road. What are you laughing at? When it was discovered a few hours later by a police officer. What's funny about $3? Am I missing something here?
I'm pretty sure I've heard the word smock being used as a jacket before, yeah?
Oh, a smock, it's like a top.
And I'm sorry, I just started laughing because I still had when it rains, it pours in my face, and I thought...
Don't forget.
The best foil for
I can see the tears running down your cheeks.
The best foil for the Rains brothers in a show would be Gary Smock. Oh, I'm gonna write this show.
Over the next few months, Larry told a number of acquaintances about the murder, resulting in his arrest in the early hours of June 5th, 1964, in front of his friend's house. He offered no resistance during the arrest and readily admitted to killing Smock, with items later identified as belonging to Smock by relatives and friends being found in his possession. When Larry was taken to the police station, he confessed that he had killed 4 other people during hold-ups at various gas stations. He confessed to the May 30th murder of 33-year-old Charles E. Snyder at Elkhart, Indiana, the murder of an Air Force serviceman in Paw Paw, Michigan, the murder of a man in Las Vegas, Nevada, and another man in Kentucky.
He was doing the whole gas hold-ups.
Yeah.
All I can picture is them going in like the penguin with an umbrella going. It's all around Rains now. That's all it's in my head.
I was wondering, okay, I can see now. I was like, where the fuck is he pulling the penguin from? Larry wasn't able to name 3 of his victims, but investigators suspected that one of them might have been 21-year-old Vernon LeBen, a serviceman from Southfield, Michigan. While working at a gas station near Battle Creek, LeBen was shot dead on April 6th, a day before he was due to be married. According to Larry, he committed all the murders for robbery, and after having consumed all the food and alcohol, he intended to take his own life, but never went through with it. Larry was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, which declared him insane. The examining doctors concluded that the psychological trauma of his childhood abuse caused him to develop a subconscious hatred towards gas stations as they reminded him of his father.
See that gas station over there? Took my paw.
I'm telling you, you can make it a dark comedy. Okay. Larry's trial began on September 29th, 1964.
I need to pull over some petrol Larry. No! No! I can't go there again. Not after what they did to my daddy.
You sound African American.
I like to go both sides. We'll go right next. We go
just to show your range. If there's anybody listening, this is the range of your vocal ability.
This is my sizzle reel, Amy. Come on.
On October the 8th, by jury verdict, he was found guilty of the murder of Gary Smock. On October 23rd, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. So with Danny's killing spree, after his brother's conviction, Danny began frequently arguing with his wife as well as demonstrating worsening sexual behaviour. In November 1968, he attacked 18-year-old Dorothy.
Worsening like he was doing bad things, or worsening like he was just getting bad at it?
Bit of both, maybe. Don't know.
Forgot how the movie sits.
Getting older, like. In November 1968, he attacked 18-year-old Dorothy King in Battle Creek, taking control of her car at gunpoint. Danny attempted to drive...
Police car.
Danny attempted to drive to the outskirts of the town so he could rape her, but King managed to escape when he took a wrong turn near the Kellogg Community College.
I wonder what they thought there.
After which he threw away his gun and fled. Danny's car was later found in the parking lot of the pharmacy where King worked and was attacked, and after being identified by the victim, he was arrested. On February the 4th, 1969, Danny was found not guilty of the felonious assault on King, and on April 15th, he was sentenced to 3 to 4 years. I hear he said 3 foul years. During Danny's imprisonment, his wife divorced him. He was granted parole on February 17th, 1972, returned to Kalamazoo and got a job as a gas station operator.
His brothers actually, see the brothers now, right?
Maybe because they were in competition with each other for so long, but as soon as he was like, oh shit, he's scared of gas stations, perfect.
And I was like, Larry, Danny's getting home today. Great, can't wait to see him. He took a job at the gas station.
I have no brother.
He's dead to me.
During this period, he met 15-year-old vagrant Brent Eugene Coster, a local youth with a troubled family life on account of his schizophrenic mother and alcoholic father. After meeting Coster, Danny provided him with accommodation in one of his girlfriend's trailers and got him a job. With no other role models in his life and given his age and Danny helping him, Coster would later easily be led into becoming his accomplice.
This is kind of where all the ha-ha stops, because I feel really bad for this
really
guy.
bad for Coster. Yeah.
This guy kind of... No, it doesn't sound like... Obviously what he did was terrible.
Well, I feel really bad for everybody.
He was just... Yeah.
So, on July 5th, 1972, Danny and Coster raped and killed 19-year-old Chicagoans Linda Clark and Claudia Bidstrup at a gas station near I-94, where Danny was working at the time. After killing them, the pair wrapped the victim's body in a blanket and placed them in the back of their car. Coster then drove the car into a wooded area near Galesburg, where he set it on fire to remove potentially incriminating evidence. Clark and Bidstrup's remains were found 14 days later by a passing motorcyclist. On August 5th, while driving near the Western Michigan University, Danny and Coster picked up an 18-year-old hitchhiker, Pamela Furno. Threatening the girl with a knife, they took her to the woodlands surrounding Morrow Lake near Comstock Township, where they raped her several times before Danny strangled her using a plastic bag. Despite Danny's instructions, Coster revealed his guilt in the murders to several street workers in September, one of whom turned out to be an informant. He was arrested on September 5th, 1972 and interrogated, readily admitting his guilt in the killings and implicating Danny, who was arrested that same evening.
Do you know if you're in public and somebody comes up to you and is like, I have a knife, come with me or I'm going to stab you? My advice would be you are probably better off to fucking be stabbed there in public where there are people who can help you rather than go with this person who will probably end up raping you and stabbing you anyway. You just minus the rape and the potential for help is a lot fucking quicker.
It's a lot quicker.
No matter even if someone says they have a gun fucking help you, it's like, well, if you got a gun and you're taking me somewhere, you're not taking me anywhere nice. So, I mean, do what you got to do so that you can be caught. You're not going to kill me here this poor in public. You're going to get caught. There's a reason why you want me to go somewhere with you.
Yeah.
So if I say no, it's a bigger risk for you to do anything to me right here, and I have more of a potential of being saved and you getting caught.
That is true.
So what if there's a weapon ever pointed at you? Tell them go right the fuck ahead and save yourself. No, fuck that. You'll be fine.
During interrogation, Coster also claimed that Danny had confided to him that he had kidnapped, raped and killed 28-year-old Patricia Hoke on March 19th. Based on his testimony and other incriminating evidence, Danny was charged with the 4 murders on October 1972. At Danny's trial, Coster acted as a key witness for the prosecution. Danny was found guilty of first-degree murder for killing Furno and second-degree murder for killing Hoke. He was sentenced to life without parole on August 9th, 1973. He pleaded no contest to second-degree murders for killings of Clark and Bitstrup and was given 2 additional life terms. As part of a plea deal, Coster was charged with second-degree murder in the Clark case, to which he pleaded guilty. On July 21st, 1975, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. The judge told Coster that he deserved to die in prison and that people like him or why some wanted capital punishment brought back to Michigan. I think the judge wasn't taking some factors for that poor guy into account.
I mean, like, it kind of does show, and I've seen it myself when I was doing stuff like special needs assisting and stuff like that in your own certain disadvantaged children and stuff like that. It'll show you a role model, a good, positive role model is needed. Effect, and then especially for little boys, sometimes they do need to have that male role model around. You know, that is why it is important for, you know, men to stick around and do their job as well, instead of going missing and leaving it to the moms. But and that is the problem here. This guy had no family. He had no one to take care of him.
Someone took an interest in it, and that's what he needed at that age. And
he thought this person knew best, so he did what this person said. No, obviously,
you do know wrong from right at the same time, but like.
And he happily did his time for what he did. Yeah. And he's kind of the last kind of thing he has to say there at one of his parole things is, you know, that he deserved to be there. He deserved what he got, but he'd like to make an attempt to go out and do something positive in the world before his days end, just so he could leave, I suppose, balance out the karma a bit. And he went through law school as well, didn't he?
He did. He actually he underwent many sex offender rehabilitation programs, and he earned a law degree. He was an exemplary prisoner according to prison officials, but he had his parole application consistently denied. And it wasn't until September 2020 that they approved his parole. But he was fully discharged from his sentence on January 21st, 2025.
Well, I mean, look, it'll prove that at least every now and again you get somebody rehabilitated. Do you know?
But I think it's sad that this was obviously someone that could have done so well in life. He earned a fucking law degree from prison. He did really fucking well for himself with the right, with the right people he would have been. And it's so sad when you see a case like that. There's a whole lifetime.
And what age was he when he started? So he was like 15.
Yeah.
So what age? So was he 15 when he committed the murders? See, that should be taken into account as well, like, you know?
It should have been. He was 15, yeah, so...
It's not 15. Like he was a full grown... If at that age you were very, you know...
Impressionable. You're impressionable. You're easily led. You're easily groomed. It's like, yeah.
Oh, well, look. He's out now. He must be old now, though. He's 67.
I wonder, does he practice law?
Well, no, he'd have to pass the bar, wouldn't he?
Can he practice law, though, if you have that against you?
I don't know, but see, what he would be able to do is probably be... a
consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, be on the team, but not the main guy.
Not senior counsel.
I mean, obviously, anybody can kind of fucking stand up and...
I can defend you. I can defend myself. You can defend me. Yeah, but
it's up to you who you want to defend
I think
yourself.
The judge can look at you and be like, well, you're a bit thick. So, no, I think they can do that.
Work? If you're disbarred, but I know you're a good fucking lawyer, and I know the reason you've been disbarred is stupid, I could still turn up in court and say, this person is representing me today. But you've been disbarred from practicing law.
Maybe it's that you can't advertise your services.
I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
We went for over an hour, and we got two kind of smaller things to talk about here. The Lindworm, there's not really much to talk about. It's a really cool story, an old medieval story. You should play it. It's one of your fun mini monsters that I use as almost like a bedtime story. The story of these weird...
I like these ones, yeah.
And they are. It is interesting. There's a lot in there, but if we were to spend time talking about it right now,
we'd go down a rabbit hole.
And repeating what you've heard.
If you would like to hear more, we do talk about it on...
Oh, we did very early on. We talk about after we did the Wicker Man episode, which is the The Cult of Summer Isle. The Wicker Man Cult of Summer Isle. That week's weekend update was completely dedicated to the spec script that was written for the sequel, which was going to be called The Loathsome Lantern Worm. And I had found a audio drama podcast version of that script being done, and we talk about it there, and we kind of talk, I think we talk a bit about what the worm is, and its part in the Wicker Man, what the Wicker Man 2 would have been.
The lantern worm is different.
Sure, we can talk about them all in one big ball at some point.
I didn't realise. I thought the Lindworm was the lantern worm. It's not. Sorry.
I always thought the Yeti was just like the polar bear version of a Bigfoot.
I always thought it was the white, yeah, like what you see in Monsters Inc. Yeah.
Just like, you know, you see white lions in the snow, you see white bears in the snow.
Like
I just thought it was a white fucking Bigfoot. Apparently a lot more spiritual than we fucking thought. The Himalayans, I mean, they're mad for this. Like, it's almost like a god.
Wild man. You know? Yeah.
Snowman, wild man. And some of that stuff you'd nearly believe, because especially in that kind of an area, it would be very hard to, you know. See, no, I know this place is kind of saying, well, at this point, something this big, we would have spotted it.
That's why I like the theory that if they're there, it's like it's like an interdimensional slip. If they're there.
But remember, and I know it's a movie, but remember Harry and the Hendersons at the end, how they were all hiding in plain sight.
They did that on purpose.
And we didn't see it. And that was proof positive. And then we were watching Paranormal Caught on Camera, and we looked it up, and I think we even talked about it on the show at one point, and we looked it up to see was it a genuine news article, and it was a news article of the people in the train when they were driving past. And then you see the Bigfoot-like creature walking across, seeing them, and then sitting down and literally blending in is one of the bushes that were right there. And no, I don't know. Like I do feel at this point with the amount of trail cams and drones and everything else, we'd have had found it.
I think that there are still many species that we haven't discovered, but I think all of those species are like insects and mini fauna and stuff like that.
I was just about to say, I would say most of what we haven't fucking found out at this point is in the water.
Exactly.
You know, we pretty much figured it all out on this planet, except for the deep ocean. Mainly because apparently if you go down there in a submarine, you will get crushed like a Coke can.
Holy fuck. I saw a video, there's a video doing around of like, it said, you know, like those oil tankers, and it's the same concept, it has that pressure, and your man gets out of the cab, like exactly what have happened. Mind-boggling.
No, but you know what? I remember when they were missing, thinking how terrible that must be sitting inside there, knowing what's coming.
You were gone instant.
But apparently it was a very, very instantaneous thing. 1 minute they would have been fine, and the next minute it would have been, they wouldn't have even known it happened. So.
No, well, I suppose that's just kind of saving grace for it, but I don't like the thought of being up on land either, not knowing what happened to that submarine. Like,
oh, fucking hell. Well, it definitely makes me think twice about wanting to go down the deeps because of the
I would go down with the Navy or something. I would feel safe with the Navy in a submarine, you know, but as in like if I'm just going to like a touristy thing.
I did like the description, the explanations they had for the Yeti. And we're not going to get too far into it because we're running a bit late now and we need to move on. But the explanation for the footprints was pretty interesting.
Well, like it's basically like the snow is loose. Like so you're walking along in the snow and you leave that footprint and there's winds. It's like the way sand moves.
What did they say about was it a bear or something?
Oh, sorry. So the footprints can come from a Tibetan blue bear, the Himalayan brown bear.
There was something about the way they had to walk or something like that. And
opposable thumb.
In a way,
and then sometimes their gait may the opposable thumb and their gait may kind of made their footprints appear to be a bipedal animal rather than
and the way the snow moved underneath them and stuff like that.
Exactly, and then also you have the snow shifting to make these footprints appear way bigger than they actually are.
Yeah. But again,
there is DNA done.
You've heard us talk about Bigfoot. You've heard us talk about Yetis. One and the same, really, outside of the whole thing. Now, we will do a bigger kind of thing on all of those as a whole at one point, I think.
Yeah.
I think we kind of fucking did when we did, whatchamacallit,
Skunk Ape? No.
No, Creek, something Creek.
Boggy Creek. Boggy Creek. Do you know what, though? My favourite is the Skunk Ape.
I really enjoyed, I will admit, I enjoyed our episodes on Boggy Creek. And I forget that I enjoyed our episodes on Boggy Creek because I didn't enjoy the movies so much. They felt like
First
boring fucking movies.
Bad. No, once you explained that it was real people, not real people, that it wasn't actors at the start, I could kind of look past how like boring and but it was, yeah. The first
Dana Plato was in the second one.
Who?
Dana Plato.
Do you?
You probably don't know her. She would have been.
Oh, it's a woman. What's her name again?
Dana Plato.
No.
She was in Different Strokes.
I've never seen Different Strokes.
Yeah, with Gary Coleman.
Coleman, yeah.
But she was basically, you know the premise of Different Strokes, right?
Yeah.
Gary Coleman and his brother are adopted by a rich older man and brought home. He has a daughter already who's older than them, slightly older than them. She would be like early teens, or that was played by Dana Plato. And Dana Plato would be John BoJack Horseman when they show BoJack as when he's famous as a sitcom guy, and there's this little girl on set with him.
Yeah.
And then later on, I think Kat Dennings does the voice for her. Later on, as it goes on, she becomes a party head, Lindsay Lohan kind of style.
Oh yeah.
Well, Dana Plato was the original Lindsay Lohan, and she did not survive.
Oh.
So she was heavy on drugs and partying and all that, being a child actress and famous. I mean, Gary Coleman, being attached to Gary Coleman was big as well at that time.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. So, Dana Plato died from drugs. But I believe she was in Boggy Creek too.
I do know her. Oh, look at the face on her. She was cute. Hang on now. I do know her. I've seen her in... I can't think. Oh yeah, I remember her in Boggy Creek now that you say it. She's in a good bit I think I've seen.
But yeah. So go back and listen to our Boggy Creek. Even if you don't like the movies, the Boggy Creek movies, go back and listen to our versions of it. It's different. It's more about us talking about the...
She's in The Exorcist 2.
Is she?
In The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Yeah.
Who's she?
I see the other kid going through. Do you remember there's a kid in there to the office?
The one that Regan kind of gets talking.
Yeah, I think so. That's the only other person I can think of.
Too old, wouldn't she?
She was
Different
born
Strokes,
in
not the 70s.
She was born in 1964.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yes, we will talk more about the Yeti when we talk more about Big Feet and other versions of them.
Yes.
We spent all our time on witches and the rains.
She'd have been right
when
age.
It rains, it pours.
She would have been 13 when The Exorcist came out.
Okay, I gotta go start my pilot episode of When It Rains, It Pours. Start casting Larry and Danny Rains. Who'd you play Larry and who's Danny? Oh, William H. Macy is Larry. Danny. Larry's the long-haired one, right?
Yeah. Not William H. Macy is Larry.
I think he played better. Yeah, no, he would, because he think of him as Frank. He'd get way more insulted by Danny taking the job in the gas station than being the one taking the job in the gas station.
He reminds me of somebody though, looking at him facially. I can't put my finger on it.
I don't know. We'll put out a casting call to all the agents. We need Larry and Danny Rains for the new sitcom. Well, sitcom or soap opera, we haven't decided yet.
Danny Rains should be your man, the guy from Sons of Anarchy. He's in band.
He's what?
He's I think he's a singer as well. He is your man from Sons of Anarchy. He's one of the. What's his name? His name sounds like another serial killer.
He's in band.
In a band.
He's in a band from Sons of Anarchy.
He's in like the first season, second season. Is he like one of the Nazis?
Oh, hey, Black Flag, fucking.
Oh, Danny Rollins.
Right.
Danny Rollins for.
No, Danny Rollins.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, Danny Rollins. Danny Rains. Not bad casting.
Henry Raleigh.
Not bad casting.
Oh God, we're sorry we keep confusing you for a serial killer. I like your music very much. See you next week.